Let's pause for a second, though, and talk about the alternative to shopping in store, and that is shopping online. And I know a lot of people like to do that, but, it's not always easy and painless. In June, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission sued online retailer Amazon for what it calls, quote, deceptive practices. The FTC alleging that the company tricked people into signing up for Prime memberships and then made it too complicated to cancel. Todd Maffin is a business journalist. He has some advice on what to look out for. He joins us from Nanaimo, British Columbia. And before we begin, I should point out that Todd worked with me on a program called Canada Now back in the 2000s here on CBC. You were one of the best parts of that show, Todd, and it's such a pleasure to have you on this program.
Good to see you. It was like 20 years and 20 pounds ago for me, so good to see you again.
Yeah, and I follow you, I think it's on Instagram, certainly on social media, so I feel like I'm in touch with you, but not really. So as I say, really nice to have you on the program. Well, let's start off with Amazon, this FTC lawsuit. FTC alleging that the company has engaged in something called, quote, dark patterns. What does that mean?
Dark pattern is essentially whenever an online retailer or website is trying to trick you into doing something that you didn't mean to do. In the case of the allegation with the FTC against Amazon, it was, as you said, too easy to sign up for Prime, which is their monthly membership. And if you've ever shopped on Amazon, you'll know that when you go to purchase a product, if you don't have Prime, it will try its best to try to get you to sign up. It's like, well, you're giving up free shopping while you're giving up fast delivery. So too easy to sign up. And then a labyrinth of website pages to go through to cancel. In fact, the FTC said that the code word internally for Amazon was the Iliad project, making reference to the labyrinth, of course. So yeah, it was nasty.
Now, Amazon says the claims are false, but let's make this more general. If someone who's listening finds himself with a subscription or a recurring payment that maybe they didn't know about or are trying to work their way out of, what advice do you have for them?
The easiest thing to do is to slow down. Where dark patterns trick people is when they go really quickly through checkboxes. And in fact, Donald Trump in the previous presidential campaign had two giant checkboxes with text around it that, 4 or 5 or 6 lines just looked like, will you support Donald Trump? And are you prepared to fight the good fight? And then in small print underneath it said, by the way, we're going to double your donation. Are you cool with that? So people who are moving too fast through a cancellation process or even a sign-up process might miss that. If you're still stuck, most of the larger e-commerce sites do have phone numbers you can call, or at the very least, a chat line. Amazon has a fairly robust and relatively quick chat system where you can get online and talk to a representative over the computer. That's often a better way to go than trying to find it through the website, which is designed to prevent you from canceling.
Yeah, and I've run into that, and I never thought of it as a sinister thing, but a major newspaper I had a subscription to and decided that I wanted to unsubscribe, and I'm not a stupid person, and I could not figure out on their website how to unsubscribe. It was really, really frustrating. Now, we're talking about various kinds of subscriptions, not just to newspapers, but also to things like Amazon Prime. Again, putting those aside, what are some of the other things that companies use in dealing with online shoppers that we should be aware of?
A few. I mean, whenever you see a false urgency on a website, that's something to pay attention to. That's often a countdown timer that's not real. You'll go to a web page. These often come from Instagram or Facebook ads for whatever reason. You go to the landing page, is what we call it in the industry. You land on this web page and it has a countdown clock. And it says this sale is only available for another 2 hours and 29 minutes and it's counting down. Well, if you sit on that page for a few minutes and then you reload it, you'll find it jumps back to 2 hours and 29 minutes. It's not real. A very similar one like that is, 4 people have this in their cart right now, or there's only 6 left. Now, there are ways to patch your website directly into inventory and fulfillment, so that number may in fact be accurate, but it's tricky. And I have to say, Ian, it's not just online retailers. I mean, this happens everywhere. My mom, who also is not a dumb person, asked me to compare her cable bill with a competitor. She printed out her cable bill. It's 8 pages long, and 3 of those pages are her services. And what a lot of these sites will do, mobile providers, cable companies, in this dark pattern in the invoice, is bundle all these services together. So in her case, it was 2.5, 3 pages of services because there was a phone, and then she got a discount, and then she got a loyalty discount, and then it was bundled into something else. So it makes it really hard to compare packages.
Oh, you know what? That is so right, and exactly my situation as well with my cable. I could not figure out what I was paying for cable.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I understood the bottom line, but as you say, all these little things in the various lines and the discounts. It sounds crazy, except some people are nodding their heads, I'm sure, because they've been in exactly the same situation. It should not be that difficult.
And is widespread. There was a study that Princeton University did about 3 or 4 years ago now that found they looked at 11,000 shopping websites and found dark patterns on 11% of that. And interestingly, the more popular that shopping site was, the more likely it was to use dark patterns.
And at the end of the day, if you're stuck in a subscription and you can't get out of it, I guess one very simple way for low-tech people like me is just cancel your credit card. But that seems a little extreme because there's so many other things you rely on with your credit card.
Indeed. And, one of the areas that is, I guess, good and bad about the Canadian banking system is that we have very strict regulations when it comes to credit cards. That does prevent us from accessing the kind of more flexible credit card services that they have in the U.S., where there are some credit cards in the U.S. that every time you use your credit card, it generates a new a new credit card number, essentially a virtual number. And so rather than having to cancel your entire credit card, you can just cancel that one number, which is attached to that one retailer. We're not quite there yet in Canada because of regulation, but maybe one day.
This is like a high school reunion, Todd. 20 years ago, we were working together on TV. Seems like no time has passed at all. Fantastic hearing your voice. Thank you.
Indeed. Good to see you, Ian.
Todd Maffin, a business journalist, and we've reached him in Nanaimo, British Columbia. We